Good morning. Welcome back to yet another section of Indian writing in English. Today we are going to start the third poem, In Love, written by Kamala Das. Let us start with Kamala Das. Kamala Das was born on March 31st, 1934 at Punniyurkulam near Thrissur as the daughter of V.M. Nair, the journalist, and Balamani Amma. Balamani Amma is the poetess of motherhood. She was influenced by Nalappad Narayana Menon. And Balamani Amma became managing director and managing editor of Mathrubhumi. Kamala Das was educated mainly in India. She has written fiction in Malayalam and poetry in English. She wrote in Malayalam under the name Madhavi Kutty, in English under the name Kamala Das. Towards the last phase of life, she called herself Kamala Suraya. Though Kerala was her homeland, she lived with her husband, Mr. Madhava Das, an officer of the Reserve Bank of India in Calcutta and Mumbai for a long number of years. This is perhaps the reason behind the nostalgic strain in her poems. Another important and recurring feature in her poetry is acute obsession with love. Her poetry is often described as conventional in character. Her volumes of poems are Summer in Calcutta, A Dozen Poem, The Descendants, The Old Playhouse, and Other Poems and Collected Poems. Her autobiography, My Story, was first published in Malayalam and it came out in English in 1976. This is an outspoken account of her frustration, emotional experience. Kamala Das is mainly known for her bold and frank expression and a strong and forceful style. She received the Pence Asian Poetry Prize in 1963, the Kerala Sahitya Akademi Award in 1969, and the Central Sahitya Akademi Award in 1784. She has also won the Asian World Prize for Poetry. She lived in Ernakulam for a number of years and shifted to Pune and few years before her death on 31st May 2009. The Times called her the mother of modern Indian English poetry. She brought the concept of conventional poetry. Conventional poetry, it is a genre of poetry which focuses on the person himself or herself. It is a poem which is about I. In conventional poetry, the poet describes himself, his good and bad experiences, his psyche, the trauma which he has suffered, and the way he lives or sees the world and the people around. The topics of a conventional poetry may range from his or her childhood experiences to his illness, sexuality, and the desire for suicide. Actually, conventional poetry emerged in US during 1950s. In 6th semester, we will study Kamala Das' introduction, the poem Introduction. It is a conventional poem. Okay. Kamala Das is perhaps the most interesting and appealing among Indo-English poets. Both her life and her works are so controversial and unconventional as to invite comments and criticism from readers and critics. The poet is passionately devoted to telling the truth both of her life and her poetic vision, perhaps even sensationally. This has given rise to an unsympathetic, a much malignant and misunderstood popular estimate of her character and personality as a woman and as a poet. As a journalist and writer of my story, she has herself sensationalized often for reasons best known to her, but this has resulted in a strange picture of her in the eye of the critical public. Despite her sexual sentimentalism and sensationalism, there emerges from Kamala Das a picture of an anguished seeker after pure love and truth in a new and controversial social vision. Kamala Das occupies a position of considerable importance in post-independence Indian writing in English. Even since the publication of Summer in Calcutta in 1965, her first volume of poetry in English. She has great influence as a leading poet, constituting the modern trend of Indian poetry in English. Kamala Das, essentially a poet of love with frankness and openness unusual in the Indian context, she expresses her need for love. She is an iconoclast who criticizes, iconoclast means a person who criticizes cherished beliefs. So, she is an iconoclast and challenging with clenched fist established tradition and convention. She is a feminist blazing a new trail of emancipation for Indian women. She is a conventional poet speaking out her intimate private experiences with astonishing honesty and brutal frankness. Then we can speak about her life and works. Kamala Das' grand uncle was Nalapat Narayana Menon, the well-known poet, philosopher, playwright of Kerala. She belongs to the matriarchal community of Nayars. She began writing under the name Madhavikutty when she was just 18. A bilingual writer, she has written 30 novels in Malayalam and 3 books of poems in English, Summer in Calcutta, The Descendants, The Old Playhouse and other poems. Her only work to appear in both languages is her autobiography, My Story. With the publication of Summer in Calcutta, she was at once recognized a poet of promise. She was awarded the Asian Pen Poetry Prize for her poem, The Sirens. A poet of blended vision. Kamala Das is not merely a love poet, longing for an intense fulfillment through love. She is not merely a conventional poet, making no secret of her privacy. She is not merely an emancipated poet leading an attack on senseless restrictions and conventions and pleading for the liberation of her sisterhood from the clutches of conventional roles from the sex-obsessed world of the domineering male. She has in her an automatically keen perception of the poet as a poet. She has in her an automatically keen perception of the poet, the maker, and she emerges as a poet of blended vision. So I think all of you got a clear picture of Kamala Das. So we can speak about the poem. Our poem is In Love. The poem In Love is taken from the collection Summer in Calcutta. Love is common theme in Kamala Das poems. The poem is about love. The poet is fed up with the skin communicated thing, namely lust. She dare not tell this in the presence of her husband. What she yearns for is true love. So let us start the poem. So all of you please take the page number 13. Okay, I think all of you are ready with the page number 13. First stanza. Of what does the burning mouth of sun burning in today's sky remind me? Oh yes, his mouth and his limbs like pale and carnivorous plants reaching out for me, and the sad lie of my unending lust. So we can go through the difficult words. Burning mouth of sun. Burning mouth of sun means here the hot sun or the hot day. The hot sun or the hot day. The next word, carnivorous plant. Carnivorous plant. It means plants that can trap and digest insects and other small animals. I repeat, carnivorous plant, it means plants that can trap and digest insects and other small animals. I think rest of the words are very familiar for you. Okay. So once again I recite those lines. Of what does the burning mouth of sun burning in today's sky remind me? Oh yes, his mouth and his limbs like pale and carnivorous plants reaching out for me, and the sad lie of my unending lust. She begins the poem by referring to the sun, the hot sun and atmosphere, because it is a hot day. Whenever she sees the sky on which the sun is burning, then she thinks about him and his features. I told you she starts this poem by referring to the hot sun and atmosphere. When she sees the hot sun at the moment, she started to think about her partner. She sees that his limbs and mouth are approaching her as a carnivorous plant with unending sexual desire. From that line itself, we can understand she is not satisfied in her sexual life with her partner. That is why she says, when his limbs and mouth are approaching her, she feels just like a carnivorous plant with unending sexual desire. So she is not at all happy with him in their marital life, especially the unending sexual desire. Here the mouth of the hot sun in the sky reminds the speaker of the mouth of her partner. Here she compares the mouth of the hot sun with her partner's mouth. I told you the sun is burning. So for her it is very difficult to live with her husband because she is not at all happy in their sexual life. The poet says that during night her husband reaches out his limbs to tempt her into sexual act. He does it under the pretext that her lust is unending and he is trying to quench it. But the poet says that it is a sad lie. Actually, she doesn't have such a feeling towards her husband. But anyway, her husband is trying to quench her thirst in her lust. So that is why she says it is a sad lie. In this bleak poem, Kamala Das describes her relationship with her lover or partner, which is based on physical coupling. She begins the poem by referring to the sun and atmosphere whenever she sees the sky which the sun is burning. At the moment, she thinks about her husband or her partner. She experiences her body as scorched and consumed by her lover in unpleasant ways. The burning mouth of the sun actually reminding the female speaker of his mouth and his limbs. His kisses are like the burning mouth of the sun. Obviously, the point of comparison is burning because the mouth of her husband is compared with the mouth of the sun. So the comparison is burning. She is not at all happy with that. But instead of warmth and life that the sun's burning encapsulates, the lover's burning mouth stands for the fire of carnal desire, which makes his limbs like pale and carnivorous plants. That is why she compares his limbs just like the carnivorous plants. She feels like so. The woman speaker highlights the uncontrollable intensity of the male's sexual urges and its killing effects on her. Significantly, the lust-laden limbs reach out not only for her but also for some kind of reciprocity. But her unending love is a sad lie, at once sad and a lie. I think all of you understood the first stanza till the line of my unending lust. Then we can move to the next. Where is room, excuse or even need for love, for isn't each embrace a complete thing, a finished jigsaw, when mouth on mouth I lie, ignoring my poor moody mind, while pleasure with deliberate gaiety trumpets harshly into silence of the room. Till that we can discuss. Okay. So we can go through the difficult words. I know actually embrace, it is very familiar word for you. It means hold closely in one's arm. hold closely in one's arm. The next word is jigsaw. Actually, jigsaw, it is a tool with a fine steel blade for cutting. Jigsaw, it is a tool with a fine steel blade for cutting. Cutting especially for trees, any hard things. So, have you observed the movement of jigsaw? Yes, I think. Yes, it moves forward and backward while cutting something. Actually, this movement connects with their sexual life. Okay. So, next word is deliberate. Deliberate. Deliberate, yes, intentional. Deliberate means intentional. Okay. The next word is gaiety. Gaiety. Gaiety means, yes, gaiety means the state of being happy. The state of being happy. So I think we already discussed all the difficult words in these lines. Okay, so we can move to the paraphrase. In the room or anywhere, in the room or anywhere, he reaches her. Her partner reaches her in his need for love to make love to her. She describes their meeting as a mechanical one. He neglects her feelings whenever they are meeting. Actually, she is not at all happy with their meeting, with the meeting of her husband. She is not at all happy. She feels it's just like a mechanical one. She is silent when he enjoys her as a triumphant. Actually, she suppressed a lot and she became silent while he enjoys her as a triumphant. There is no scope or excuse or need for love in her case, because every embrace ends in a complete sexual act, a finished jigsaw. In her, it is a mechanical process. When the husband and wife he mouth on mouth, though the woman is in a poor, moody mind. Pleasure fills the silent room. Actually, the pleasure that fills the room is deliberately caused by the partner. In fact, the woman is forced to keep up the show of an unending lust to save her face. Of course, where lust reigns supreme, there is no room, excuse or need for love. Because we already identified that her partner is not at all considering her feelings. That is why she feels it's just like a jigsaw. It's just like a mechanical process. So we can't see the pleasure in her. Consequently, each embrace becomes a complete thing or a finished jigsaw. In the sexual encounter between the active male and the passive female, the active male folds up the speaker in his embrace, considering it to be a complete thing or a finished jigsaw, because he is not at all considering the feelings of his partner. Complete and finished while qualifying thing and jigsaw respectively, hint at purposive action undertaken by the male who considers lust as an end in itself, and for whom there is no need for love. As the female has to keep in time with his beat, she is left with no room or space and no excuse. Here means no pretext for love. He is directly entering to the sexual encounter without any pretext for love. The immediate context of embrace and coitus necessitates her lying with the male mouth on mouth, but she can bring herself to do it only at the cost of ignoring her moody mind. So yes, she admits that while her mind is moody, not happy with the mere bodily component of her relationship, there is a certain pleasure in the physical relationship. She calls it deliberate gaiety. That is why she calls it as deliberate gaiety. That means the forceful enjoyment. But if the woman has to participate in the sexual encounter to save her face, then gaiety can only be deliberated. So that she reflects on an ecstatic union with her lover and then evaluates its impact on her, proves logically untenable. All around her is a male-violent world. That means male-dominating world. But if the woman has to participate in the sexual encounter to save her face, so gaiety can only be deliberate. The pleasure with deliberate gaiety triumphs harshly to break the silence of the room. Actually, she is very passive in their sexual encounter. So, whose pleasure and whose silence become condemned, the action trumpets and its manner harshly suggest intrusion, violence and violation that the male can subject the female speaker to. Here we must remember that for the female speaker, lying mouth on mouth with her lover or husband or partner and ignoring my moody mind takes place simultaneously, so that she reflects on an ecstatic union with her lover and then evaluates its impact on her, proves logically untenable. That means it is not able to be defended. So that is why she says all around her is a male-violent world, very malicious world. Since the whole poem is an extended rumination on the speaker's experiences and emotions, she now goes on to the temporal adverbials such as at noon and at night in the next lines. So I think this is enough for today's class. So once again we can go through the main points we discussed in this class. So I think first of all we started the discussion relating Kamala Das. I know all of you are very familiar with Kamala Das. Then we already understood Kamala Das. She is famous as Madhavi Kuti and also Kamala Surayya. And she is a major Indian woman writer, popular for her candid autobiography, frank short stories, and disturbingly explicit poems. Then she already wrote in English and Malayalam. Then I told you she was highly influenced by her uncle Nalapat Narayana Menon, a prominent writer of the time, and her mother Nalapat Balamani Amma. Then she married to Madhava Das, an officer of the Reserve Bank of India. She spent most of her life in Calcutta and Bombay and also Delhi. Then her conversion to Islam, it happened in December 1999, kicked up a lot of dust. Then Kamala Das died at Jangir Hospital, Pune on 31st May 2009 at the age of 75. Then I think all of you are very familiar with one of her works, Nirmadalam Putagalam. And a host of other popular works. Kamala Das is primarily a conventional writer in the line of Anne Sexton, Sylvia Plath and Judith Wright. Actually, now in my introduction, I gave the clear picture about what it is conventional poet. Her promiscuous self-exposure and deadening sex and sensuality have earned her the name a poet of decadence. Underline that point. Kamala Das' writings are the contemplations of a solitary heart. The awe-inspiring canter with which she undertakes the portrayal of her experiences and the exploration of the varied facets of womanhood and nuances of love is remarkable. Then I told you she is an iconoclast. In her candid and daring treatment of female sexuality, she has travelled wildly reading poetry. Her works have been translated into many foreign languages, including French, Spanish, Russian, German, and Japanese. She has won numerable awards such as Sahitya Akademi Award, Vailar Award, including nomination for the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1984. So I think you got a clear picture about the poet or writer Kamala Das. In this section, we are enjoying one of her important famous poems, In Love. So actually In Love, it is contained in Summer in Calcutta. I told you it is a poem about disenchantment in love. The poet is ostensibly fed up with the skin communicated thing, that it is lust, which she dare not yet in or his presence call our love, or that the true love. What she yearns for in her heart of hearts, it is true love. This is the main theme of the poem In Love. Today we went through the first two stanzas. We reached at the line, trumpets harshly into the silence of the room. So all of you, please go through the lines. Then understand the theme of the poem. Then go through the difficult words. So we will meet in the next class. Thank you.